Hi guys! Today I'm gonna show you all how to make Katsu. So that's also Katsu chicken. It's not that hard. It's pretty much like fried chicken, like breaded and stuff. But let's just get on with the cooking. And let me know in the comments if you've made it, and let me know how it turned out as well. So first of all, we are gonna thin out the chicken. So my chicken pieces that I have, they are too thick, like too fat. So I used chicken breast. So you just put a bit of cling film on top, and then use anything, rolling pin or whatever, to just sort of thin it out. And you can use one of those, what do you call those, meat cleavers? I'm not sure. You can use that if you have that. I'm using a rolling pin. So you just want to flatten it out as much as you can. Be careful you don't rip it, because if you do it too much, it can just sort of break apart, and we don't want that. So just flatten it out. I'm using 4 pieces, and then we're gonna get frying. And make sure you watch what you touch with the chicken hands, and wash your hands very carefully afterwards, because nobody wants salmonella. Haha, yeah. Yeah, now that we're done, and now I'm gonna move on to the coating of the meat. So I've already put some panko breadcrumbs in one plate. Panko breadcrumbs are just like Japanese breadcrumbs, except they're like really a lot more crispier. And then I'm using 1 egg, and then I'm also gonna put some flour in the other plate. In the flour, I'm adding a few seasonings and spices. You can add them to the panko breadcrumbs as well. I've done that before, but I wanted to try adding it to the flour instead this time. So I've added cayenne pepper, and then I add some salt, some black pepper, and some parsley as well. I'm eye measuring. If you watched any of my previous videos, you know that I just eye measure everything. I never take measurements. It's really bad, especially when I'm trying to tell people how to cook something. So if you can eye measure, then well, that's great. But yeah, so just gonna mix that up, and I added a bit more cayenne pepper because it did not look red enough. Yep, I want it to be as red as possible. So once that is done, I am putting some oil in a pan. We're not deep frying it, mainly because it's, a lot of oil and really fattening, and I don't have that much oil. So we're just sort of like half pan frying it. So you leave that in the pan, let it heat up, and while that is heating up, we're gonna coat our meat. So you first put the chicken in the flour, make sure all the areas are covered, then put it in the egg, and then in the panko breadcrumbs. So it's pretty simple, this step. You just want to make sure everything is covered, and then we're just going to set it aside in a separate plate, and we're going to fry them all later. In terms of how much of everything you should put in the plate, I would say put more than what you think you might need. So I had to add a few more panko breadcrumbs for my last piece of chicken, so I needed more panko, and there was quite a bit of flour left that I had to throw away. But the egg was perfect. So maybe 1 egg is fine for 4 pieces of chicken. But the flour I used was way too much, of course, and it's a shame to, waste it. But definitely add more panko. So how to check the oil is done, you're going to put your chopstick in, and if it fizzes around that area that is in the oil, that means it is hot enough. So then we put in our first piece, and let that cook for around 5 minutes. and then we flip it over. You want to make sure that the oil doesn't get too hot. If you notice that it's burning it or getting way too hot, you can lower the heat. Generally, the middle range of the heat is the perfect place to cook it. If you can maintain the temperature, then that is great. So I'm just sort of making sure there aren't any of the light brown bits, so I'm trying to make it all evenly brown. And then when I think it's done, you can take it out. You can, of course, cut it open to see that it's cooked. And if it's not, then you can, put it back in the pan and just fry it again. Or even put it in the oven if you don't want to fry it, double times. I'd recommend just putting it in the oven. That probably would be better. But yeah, we're just going to do the same with all of the pieces. Make sure you flip all sides and try to leave each side for around 5 or so minutes, or generally when it's starting to look like it's sort of done on each side. And you can flip it to check, so make sure you do that. And there we go, it's done. It was really easy, right? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will upload more videos every week. Leave a comment if you tried this out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!